This is Robert Martellacci, the Mindshare Learning Report, Canada's learning and technology e-magazine. I have the good fortune of having a Mindshare Learning moment with Shawn Young, co-founder and CEO at ClassCraft, located in Sherbrooke, Quebec, and New York City. A startup he co-founded as a passionate physics teacher who developed a passion for software development and gamifying education. Thank you for joining me this afternoon, Shawn.
Thanks, Robert. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we had the opportunity to connect down at the Future of Education Technology conference in Florida recently. I was so impressed with your passion for learning and innovation, and being a fellow Canadian, I thought, wow, it'd be a cool conversation to have and understand what drove your passion around ClassCraft.
Well, as you mentioned, I was an educator for 10 years, a big gamer as well. I was also, while I was a teacher teaching physics, also a web developer. So ClassCraft was kind of the brainchild of those three things coming together. As a teacher, I was really fascinated with driving meaning for kids. You know, they have to be there, but you know, they should want to be there. So how do we systemically make that happen? And you know, I had the idea to leverage what makes video games so addictive and fun to do that, and just built it for myself. Really, used it for 3 years in my own classroom before even announcing it to the world, and founding the company with my brother Devin, and who's a designer based in New York, and our father Lauren, who's an accountant. So he's our CFO now. We pulled him out of semi-retirement.
Fantastic. Sounds like a perfect team.
Yeah, we're lucky to have all that skill set, you know, close by.
Keep it in the family. And,
Yep.
and so your vision of ClassCraft from its inception to today, how has that evolved?
In a lot of ways. I mean, ClassCraft started off a bit of as a classroom management software with the idea of, you know, making classroom management into a game. Now it's much more than that. We've got personalized learning engines in there through quests. Teachers can author adventures. There's still a behavioral component, but there's a lot more components around driving engagement around the brick and mortar experience as well. So we've gone from like a gamified classroom management to actually a full-fledged engagement management system.
And what has the response been like from your market?
It's just been incredible since the beginning. I mean, we now have over 3.5 million people in the platform.
Congratulations.
Thanks. You know, in 3 years, that's a pretty good growth curve. And I think people want to meet kids where they're at, right? They want to make school meaningful. Every single teacher has the desire to be that teacher that's going to change a kid's life, and you know, ClassCraft empowers them to be that person.
And so tell me give me a success story or two that you can talk about how teachers are engaging their kids with ClassCraft.
Well, we have a ton, you know, with the volume of teachers we have using ClassCraft, there's a ton, but the ones that hit me the most are the ones where, you know, because what we're doing is bridging the divide between the digital experience and the real experience, we're actually impacting the day-to-day emotional lives of these kids. And so it's a collaborative experience, and so we have a lot of, you know, kids writing us saying, you know, I couldn't fit into class, I was getting bullied, and now because of ClassCraft, you know, that has completely changed because people are looking out for me and they're on my team and we're having fun together. We have some parents who've written us, this happened twice, saying, you know, my son was one step away from suicide, and
wow.
ClassCraft brought him back from the brink. Teachers saying, you know, I was on my way out of teaching. I couldn't find the motivation anymore. Now, since I have ClassCraft, like I love teaching again. So I think that because we're really focusing on the experience, not on like a lot of ed tech stuff is about like creating better digital tools.
Right.
We're really focused on like the human experience of being in the classroom, and I think that's a game changer, pun intended, because.
I like that.
we're not that close to getting rid of the brick and mortar experience of school, right? As long as parents need a place to put their kids while they go to work, school buildings and that experience of being 30 kids in the same classroom all day is going to continue existing, and so we want to fix that piece of it.
Well, that's extremely exciting and rewarding. And what advice do you have to teachers who haven't embraced digital to any great extent? Because there are the laggards out there.
There are, I think that the digital is one thing. I think the digital is one part of a larger change, right? And I think that I don't think the important part is the digital part. I think the important part is changing pedagogy. It's trying new approaches. It's opening yourself up to be close to the kids. And so, I think the approach is what needs to change. And technology is helping us do that in a real way. Like, it's accelerating that. So of course I'm embracing that. But, I would say to those teachers, if we want to be effective educators, we need to embrace that change. And be it through technology or through project-based learning or through, competency-based development,
Right.
like focusing on social emotional learning. Those are all like new-ish trends that are emerging out of like the tumultuous waters of education right now. And I think we need to kind of get on all those bandwagons.
Well, I think one of the secrets to your success is definitely your pedagogical background. I've seen quite a number of startups without someone with your expertise on the team, and my advice is always you need a pedagogical expert to understand the nuances. I've had 2 people in my office this past week who have startups in EdTech with no pedagogical expertise, and that is not a recipe for success, I would say.
I 100% agree. I think that I've been part of product development since the beginning, built a lot of it myself, and I'm still in all the product meetings. And, I'm able to say like, hey guys, the teacher would never do that, right? And so We're informing our product development based on, a lot of the experience that I had. I was an instructional coach as well for a couple of years. And so soon, a fair bit of what's happening in classrooms. I think that, as we've had a lot of like teacher adoption. Now we're also realizing that we need expertise in the ed tech space around administrators' realities, right? And so we're now starting to like work with people who are principals, people who one of our newest board members is the former commissioner of education for the state of New Jersey, so she can give us a high level like district approach. Yeah, thanks. We're pretty happy. Kimberly Harrington. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's news. You're the first. It's not even on our website yet.
Am I?
Yeah.
So tell me, what's next for you? There's a shift to global competencies away from summative and more formative assessments. And where there's chaos, there's opportunities, if you will.
Mm. Well, and I think for us, the next steps is to really execute on that vision of being an engagement management system. And what that means is to integrate with partners. And so we've just finished building an API. We've started working with a first partner, but we're actively looking for more partners now to like gamify other platforms, right? Because the experience of school is brick and mortar, then you're like in school LMS thing, but then all these other ed tech platforms. And that needs to be, just as engaging, as it can be, because it is part of that experience. And so, we're executing on that piece, and then also building out a ton of like administrative tools for principals and district leaders, so that they can, we're tracking a ton of behavioral data, right? So
sure.
It's going to be fun.
And you are in quite a number of countries. It's sometimes hard to be a prophet in your own backyard, but you got a lot of traction south of the border, and you're in how many countries around the world?
We're in 75 countries, 11 languages. We have, most of our traction is in the U.S. just because it's place that's open right now to a lot of new ideas, and we're also heavily focusing our commercialization efforts there. But huge pockets in Quebec, obviously, but also Spain, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Australia, different that are just happening on their own. It's word of mouth, teachers signing themselves up.
Well, congratulations, Shawn, on your success, and it's great, proudly Canadian, made in Canada solution, which is fantastic, and it speaks to Canada's leadership on the global stage when it comes to educational performance, both on the student side and the technology partner side of the equation.
Agreed, and I think that Canada is uniquely positioned in the ed tech space because we're North American. We understand the North American market. We have the technical chops, but we also have an educational system that is, in a lot of ways, a bit more advanced in terms of pedagogy. Look at some of the stuff that's happening in Quebec and Ontario and Alberta. There's some really innovative stuff happening outside of the ed tech piece, just around, how do we deal with special needs kids? How do we deal with, competency education, that type of stuff? And so we're uniquely positioned to create forward-thinking ed tech products. I'm happy we're operating in Canada. I'm not surprised there's so many great ed tech companies out of Canada. And, I think that it's a testament to our society as well that we're able to export that know-how.
Keep up that hockey stick curve. As being a hockey player, I love that analogy. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. That was Shawn Young, CEO and co-founder of ClassCraft.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My name is Robert Martellacci of the Mindshare Learning Report. And until next time, keep the learning curve steep.